Well, hello! It's time for another exciting episode of Pens in Use. This is the show where I talk about the fountain pens and inks that I've been using throughout the week. So, let's dive into it. If videos like this interest you, where I talk about fountain pens both new and old and at all price points, I would invite you to subscribe. And I'm going to talk a little bit about growth and fixed mindset at the end of this. It's part of my research for an upcoming driving video. So, curious where you fall on that, or do you struggle to the right answer, but you struggle to live it? Let us know down in the comments. That sounded horrible. So let's look at some pens, and I'll try and come up with a smarter way to phrase that after we look at the pens. Alright, so these are the pens that I've been using this week. From left to right, I have my Merkurit, which I did its first impression this week. I have my Omas Ogiva, Noodlers Conrad, Montblanc 32, Pilot Justus 95, Penol Ambassador, Pilot E 95, and the Nakaya Decopod Twist, which is getting a artificially long lifetime because I keep refilling the darn thing with ink. So let's see how these write. As always, I'll be using this cognitive surplus notebook in order to film my first impression. My writing samples. So my first pen is a Merkurit 172. I got some more information about the brand since I filmed the first impression, but my first impressions are generally more about, what do I think of it? Unless I happen to know information, they're not heavily researched. What I consider reviews are meant to be more heavily researched. And they're based more on more experience with the pen. This pen apparently had a longer history than I thought. So it could be from anywhere from the 30s up to the 50s. And several people quite rightly pointed out that I didn't really remark on the ink window, which you can't see because it's full of ink, but very pretty ink window. I showed it, but I never said anything about it. So this is the Merkurit 172. I decided right at the end of my first impression, where I did some nib straightening, that this was definitely a oblique nib. I'm enjoying writing with it a lot more once I realized that. Use the nib properly. It's funny how that works out. So this is Parker Quink Washable Blue, because what else would I use in a first impression? Somehow I got into that habit, and I like it. It gives me a little consistency from page to page in my notebook. Now I gotta remember what my new swatch looks like. I forgot. Okay, vertical stripes. Because yes, last week I debuted a different swatch. I wanted to be able to get some of the oblique character, and right here's a pen that would be a prime candidate for that. And put the diagonals on the top or bottom. See, this is where when you're building a new habit, it's really hard. Ooh, that's nice. So I am enjoying that pen. I will concede it does not go to school with me, but I'm enjoying writing with it, and I've been sharing it with some pen pals. Not the pen itself, they only get to enjoy the writing, but hey, you at least get to see the pen. My next pen is this Omas Ogiva. This is a really fun pen. I don't know why I drew a blank there, but it is a fun pen with a nice extra flessibile nib. I'm not sure what financial troubles led Omas to going out of business, but they were a classic of Italian manufacturer for a long time. They're also famous for that Arco-celluloid that I don't own any, but I like my communist-era Centropen celluloid just fine, so we'll live with it. The ink in this is Iroshizuku. Yu-yake. And I have, from time to time, mentioned my ongoing quest to use up bottles of ink. Right there, you're looking at the last of my Iroshizuku Yu-yake. So that was kind of exciting. I like this ink, though. But I'm going to be good. I have other oranges that I can use up. I'm going to wait and, the day will come probably when I'll be, I don't have any orange ink. So I'll probably buy something orange and then I get to decide, what did you really like? Or maybe by then there'll be some new orange that I really like. Who knows? But I have an embarrassingly large number of bottles of ink, so I just want to have less of them. Kind of like I have been looking at my pens saying, you kind of got a lot of those guys, and books and saying, you got a lot of those guys. So I think one of the things I want to do this summer is a little bit of purging. Books are the hardest. Pens... there's a lot of pens that I like, but I don't use, and what I really love are my vintage pens, so I think some of my more modern ones will be sold. I'm investigating how I'm going to do that. So, and I've kind of, I started it but never finished. I wanted to do a video about, I want to change the, no, I don't want to change it that way, this way. I want to do a video at some point about editing a collection. How do you make sure it's a pen collection, not a pen hoard, that kind of thing. My next pen was really what lit my fire for collecting more fountain pens. Was a Noodlers Conrad. You don't see me using my Noodlers pens much anymore. To be honest, I have a lot of other pens I like better, but not that these are bad pens. They're just not really my favorites anymore. Vintage is what's really taken over me. The ink in it is a bugger. So the main reason I'm using this ink is every year, about this time, graduation happens, because I'm a teacher, and I like to write a letter to all the students who give me a graduation announcement. So I do that, and I find it fun to use nice sparkly inks. So this is full of a sparkly ink. So this is a Noodlers Conrad. Totally forgot what the ink... Oh, yeah, why am I looking... Okay, I don't know why I'm looking up the name of the ink. I'm like 2 steps ahead in my brain. So this has a Goulet nib on it. So the link below this pen is to 2 videos. One is my review of this pen, and the other one is a review of the Goulet nibs. So this is a 1.1 millimeter stub nib. Yeah, I replaced the Noodler's nib that was in it. The thing with Noodler's nibs, sometimes you get a good one, sometimes you don't. They're a little inconsistent sometimes. This one is Herbin. Cornaline d'Egypte. I may have butchered that. There used to be a gentleman from Quebec who would get upset with me every time I would mispronounce something French and would email me about it, but I haven't heard from him in a long time, so I'm wondering if he's given me up as a lost cause. No, I don't speak French. So, yeah, sparkly inks, the thing with them that I don't like, the longer it sits in the pen, the more it clogs the feed. And you end up with, like, these glurbs of sparkles and then none. you know, they just seem to want to concentrate in the feed. I don't like them, but they make a neat effect on the paper, especially, you know, in the... Well, it shows up better under artificial light rather than sunlight. Let's see if I can pick it up here. Just edited out a sneeze. I don't know, is this ink making me sneeze? Maybe it's the sparkles. I don't know if you could see that or not, so I'll find out when I edit the video together. My next pen. Yeah, and I've got several bottles of sparkly ink, so maybe when I feel the urge to write with orange, maybe I should whip this puppy out. Alright, my next pen has been my daily writer all week, and it has an extra fine nib, so it will probably be my daily writer all next week. Yeah, I've got a few bird splat pens. Just because I call that the bird splat doesn't mean I don't like the brand. I don't own any new ones. They don't really appeal to me a whole lot, but I own several vintage ones. The bonus is the vintage ones are a lot cheaper. Okay, for the most part, I once saw one that sold for $5,000. It was pretty, but yeah. $5,000 is... I know sometimes I buy pens that I shouldn't. But, you know, there is me splurging, and then there is, oh my God, what did you just do, squirrel? If I were to buy that. So, we'll find out. I'm probably going to feel sick this summer for a while. Buying a new roof. I'm not sure yet what it's going to cost. They haven't given me their estimate. I know the upper limit of what I want to pay. So, one of the reasons, like I said, I haven't been buying many new pens lately. I just have felt like, until that big unknown is over with, I just want to be careful. But anyway, I don't care really for this Callifolio Noir. It's a little too gray for my tastes. And one thing I've discovered with this pen is when it sits, you know, I always carry my daily writer pen when I got a shirt with a pocket around like this, upright. And it needs like half a second to start writing after it's been writing like that for a while. You know, my Lamy 2000, my Aurora 88, my Kaweco V14S, none of them need it, but this one does. This is a Pilot Justus 95. I realized the other day I have not had this pen out in a long time. I don't know why, because I like the pen a lot. You know, when I talk about how I'd like to sell off a number of my modern pens, this is not one of them. This is a modern pen that I will keep. And it has a hard and a soft setting, which is interesting. So right now it's set on soft. So Pilot Justus 95. So this is a soft fine. And the ink in it is Colorverse, which, by the way, another bottle I used up. I am going to reach that point, unfortunately, where these easy victories where I use up small bottles of ink are no longer possible, and I'm working on the big dogs, but for now, I'm going to take my joy where I can. And I like this color. But I do have another bottle of a similar color, so I don't think I'm going to miss it. And the other bottle of a similar color is one that I can buy by itself instead of as a set of 4, of which 2 I love and 2 I just go, meh. So there you go. Just for sake of making video fun or whatever this is supposed to be in aid of. Come on. There we go, autofocus. If I turn the knob, that puppy snorks out. And now we're on the hard setting, which I don't know how different it is, but... So you can still get some flex, just not as much. So it's not really a true hard, but I'll tell you something, back... for a while I was using this pen as my daily writer, and I found that for my writing, I liked it, but you probably know that I'm a math/science/computer science teacher. When I would do math of any kind, or calculations of any kind, I just liked it better on the hard setting. Don't know why, I just did. So this is a fun pen, and now that I've embarked on this book review thing, I have a book about this company I need to review. But this is a Penol Ambassador Special, which is a Danish brand. So there is quite a story to this brand that I will definitely want to share when I review that book. So I just need to get good at... I want to do a few reviews of books that I don't care as much about first, to just sort of find my way. You know, if you've been following this channel or you've looked at my old videos, how I do reviews has changed a lot, and you know, as I've learned more and just gotten more experience. So I think books will be the same way. This one is Colorverse Jupiter Flyby. I was excited and sad a few weeks ago when I used this ink up, and then a pen pal said, "Oh, we can't have that," so she mailed me a bottle of it. So I was happy that I get to continue using the ink, and a little, but that empty spot I created, you know. But I'll get through it. It will be fine. I will just have to use up another bottle of ink. So that is the... I like the Penol pens I've owned. I don't own too many of them. I don't know how many they ever made, but I've liked them. My second to last pen was a first impression, I don't know, a few months ago. A Pilot E95. It's a pocket pen. Oops, put it on right here. I don't usually post pens, but this is an exception. And it writes really well. There's a medium nib. You'd probably like to see it writing, wouldn't you? My M has too many lines in it, but whatever. The ink in it is Iroshizuku. Murasaki-shikibu. You may have noticed this one quite frequently in these videos. That's because it's my new target to use up. I like it. It's a very nice purple. But again, I want to have fewer bottles of ink. Somebody, one of my pen pals, was it helpful? Anyway, sent me samples of all the Waterman inks just in the last week or so. So I will be trying those out too, because I've never really used Waterman ink, so that might be something to try. I hear they're pretty safe inks. So yeah, you may be seeing some Waterman coming up here, and we'll just see how it goes. But my real goal is to use up these small bottles of ink that I have, and then start working on some big guns. This doesn't have a big gun in it. This has Akkerman, Groenmarkt Smaragd, and this is my Nakaya Decopod twist, which is just a fascinating pen. This has a soft, fine nib on it. And I think I've already admitted that this pen has been refilled once or twice since I first inked it up, so that I can continue writing with it. And now that I'm doing book reviews, I have to do more writing, because I have to plan them out. And first I write like all my ideas down and my thoughts, and then I have to organize them into a nice organized outline. So it's just great. I get to use these pens for more reasons. And I like to read. And it encourages me to read now, even when I have a busy week. Although I'll probably do the same with those once I get a format I like and batch film a bunch, just so I can be ready for a busy week. Because right now I have a number of first impressions ready to go. I just have to release them. So if I have a busy week, then I'll just pull out one of these pre-recorded ones. I can even upload them to YouTube early, like if I go on a trip, and then schedule them, which I will probably do. Like if I were to go visit my parents, I'm not going to announce to all of YouTube, hey, all the fountain pens that I have are unprotected in North Dakota right now. No, we'll just keep broadcasting videos. And my parents now have high-speed internet, so I can even keep up with the comments while I visit them, and you'll never know that I'm not at home. Maybe I'll tell you afterwards. So one thing I'm doing a little differently today, I'm experimenting with lighting. There's a light over here that is actually not even shining on my face. When I put it on my face, I look like that. When I turn it too far away from me, I look like that. But I seem to have found a happy place where it's reflecting off the wall onto my face. I don't know, so I just discovered it by accident, so we'll see how it goes. I'm looking at see if I can get it back how it was now. But anyway, fun. I get off on that kind of stuff, so what can I say? I enjoy the science of photography. So, in other exciting news this week, that's actually on the outline, I filmed my very first official book review. I've done some book videos in the past. I did Susan Jacoby's The Age of Unreason. Sorry, I had to think for a second. It's been a few years since I did that one. And I did Prairie School by Lois Lenski. Took me a minute there, too. So, anyway, so this week, I guess it was, I did Song of Kali by Dan Simmons. I won't tell you what is next week's, but there is one. And what I'm doing at the beginning here, this book review thing, is I'm trying to find my way. And I'm watching some other book reviewers to get some ideas. And it's a little bit of a challenge. There's so much more in a book than there is in a pen. So it's a little bit different mindset. And, you just want to share everything like I did with the Prairie School video, but you can't. And, of course, you have to be careful of spoilers quite often. So there's so much more to it. So it's been a good challenge for me. So I won't tell you what it's going to be next week, but I'm doing books that maybe, they're readable. They're not among my favorites. Like, I like Dan Simmons a lot, just I didn't really care for Song of Kali. And same with this one next week. Actually, I don't care for the next author a whole lot, but he's okay. He's like light reading. Okay, don't do the book review during Pens in Use. So, bad squirrel. Let's move on. I have a father who's a forester, a brother who's a forester, And so an article really caught my eye this week about a looming lumber shortage. In other words, there's a big shortage of lumber, and lumber is getting very expensive. And I have a little bit of a personal interest in that because I'm hoping to put a new roof on this house, so I know some of the lumber will need to be replaced, so that could drive up the cost, and that scares me a little bit. So we'll see what happens. Yeah. I also know that delaying will drive up the cost further because then I'll have other repairs to do. So, what do I do? So, yeah, we'll find out what it costs. But it was just interesting because part of the reason for the shortage, of course, was COVID-19. They just manufacture of a lot of things went down during the pandemic, and then all of a sudden people are like, "Well, if I'm stuck here at home, could finish the trim. We could put in a bookshelf," and all of a sudden the demand for lumber took off, and lumber companies are having trouble keeping up with it. And one of the things with lumber, you don't just cut down a tree and whoop, there we go, we've got our lumber. Because no, you have to cure it for a long time, and so it dries out and it's not full of sap. So it can be worked with. So and that takes time. There's no way to speed up the process, really. So yeah, it's a problem. So good for people who are in the lumber business, I guess. Another one that came up that was interesting this week. I promise I'm working on a driving video. I just time to film it and time to do it, all the research and put it together. It just hasn't happened. But I keep reading about the topic. And I read an article. I won't call this a very high level article. I don't even know if I would put it as a reference in a driving video, but we're just informally talking. But it was an article. It was about Jeff Bezos. So whatever you think of him, he does make a good point, which is backed up by Carol Dweck and other researchers, about a growth versus a fixed mindset. Basically, he puts it not in those technical terms. He talks more about teach kids to value the choices they make rather than their gifts. Like, I'm tall. That's just a genetic thing I have. I'm not balding. That's just a genetic thing that I have. It's no talent. It doesn't make me special. It's just a genetic thing that I have. Whereas choosing to do fountain pen videos, choosing to do them in the way that I do them, those are all things that I chose to do. And those are the choices, they're the kinds of things that I should be valuing, and that we should be valuing more in others, rather than, okay, if somebody's good looking, yeah, you do notice that. But there's more to it. And, athletic talent. Okay, so some people, like Michael Phelps, it's almost like he was genetically engineered to be a good swimmer. Well, okay, that's great. But what you should emphasize is, what did he do with that? The hours of training that he did. The choices he made. And he made a few bad choices too. But, and yeah, we make bad choices, and those are ones we should own also. But anyway, the point is, I can't get any taller. I'll probably get shorter as I age. I posted earlier about how short Jimmy and Rosalind Carter have gotten in a photograph with a gigantic Jill and Joe Biden. It was a weird thing with the lens, but anyway, it made me laugh. Sorry, rambling. How do I get back on the topic? What was I talking about? Growth mindset. Okay, that's why I keep an outline here. Growth mindset is the idea that you can improve yourself. I'm not good at math. Oh, that means that's a talent you need to develop. No, the fixed mindset, no, I'm not good at math. And that's that. And usually, and the fixed, okay, yeah, I'm almost okay, spoiler for the driving video. People with a fixed mindset believe that once they find that thing that they are good at, that they'll enjoy it. Well, no, you won't. Sometimes you have to work at it. I enjoy teaching. That doesn't mean there aren't days where I want to just quit my job. I enjoy math. But that doesn't mean I enjoy it when I really am struggling with a problem and cannot figure it out. I enjoy computer programming, but there are times I hate it and want to throw the computer away. I enjoy this YouTube thing. Sometimes I want to just walk away from it. I enjoy fixing vintage fountain pens, but there are times I hate it. Now, if I think my talent is fixed, then I'll be like, oh, I guess that really isn't my interest. Or if I believe that I can grow, then I'll be like, okay, I can't fix this pen yet. Okay, that video bombed. I'll just try and do better next week. Those kind of things. That's where a growth mindset comes in. We praise too often the fixed elements. That's been just doing the same colors over and over, hasn't it? I'm getting bored with that pattern. Okay, maybe somebody's looking for an excuse to talk about his new light, but it comes with this fun remote where I can slow it down or speed it up. I like it. Oh, there we go. I like it fast. We can dial all kinds of different patterns and colors and things. And yeah, I experimented with having the lamp that I'm now sitting in front of on. And I kind of liked that effect. I liked it better than the twinkle light. Although twinkle lights are cool. I liked it better than the twinkle lights. But this is just a way for me to put something fun and different in my background. So, and it turns out I enjoy running this even if I'm sorry, my computer just went to sleep. And since it's recording my sound, we're waking it up. But I've enjoyed even running this when I'm sitting in the living room reading or watching a video or something. So I'm really liking it. It's ridiculous. And if you're interested, I bought it at Radio Shack. So we'll do some free product placement, I guess. Okay. But anyway, back on my outline. I did have one other topic. The state to the west of me, Montana, recently decided to get rid of the unemployment benefits because they decided that people are not taking jobs because the unemployment's so good. Which begs a couple of questions. And I don't want to get into all of them tonight because, and I did put a link to an article about it. Their governor is also the guy who a few years ago while running for, I forget if it was representative or senator, physically attacked an NPR reporter. Yeah, that guy. But anyway, why is there a restaurant labor shortage? Well, one of the reasons is people with the shutdowns and everything went on to find other lines of work. And let me tell you a little something. Let me drink a little bit of water. I'll tell you a little something about restaurant work. The nice thing about it is, you work your shift, you go home. It's not like teaching where you lay awake thinking about kids or horrible situations or, oh, why did I do that types of stuff. But the hours for restaurant work are terrible. You're often working when other people have time off. You come out of the restaurant smelling like the restaurant. And you're dirty and gross and sweaty because, of course, the kitchens are terrible. And I'm sorry, and I know this from personal experience because I worked in a restaurant for 7 years. There are some customers who are absolute assholes, and they see you as lower status than them because you're working in a restaurant, so it's their privilege to treat you like shit. Yeah, I said shit. I was shocked when I, fairly innocent. I started working there when I was 16. How awful some people are to people working in the restaurant. How you would be insulted. And some people would order in the most demeaning way, just to prove their superiority to you. It's awful work. And then after this long shift where you're physically working, you're on your feet and working with food and all that, and you get rushed because there's so many orders coming in, you can't keep up, and that's out of your control, but you get yelled at for that. And then, after the restaurant closes, you got to stay there forever cleaning up. Or if you work the morning shift, you have to come really early to prep. So, I'm one who doesn't think restaurant workers get paid enough. I would be happy to pay more to eat at a restaurant, to pay their workers more. If I can't afford it, I'll just eat out less. It's horrible work. And, it says something if unemployment is paying more. Workers are not slaves. They are employees. And they're an important part of your business. And I was lucky I had 2 reasonably nice bosses. But I do know there are those restaurant workers who always believe the customer is right. Employees get fired just because some customer complains. So, I have a lot of respect for them. And when I eat in a restaurant, I make sure I tip really well. But most restaurants, the tip does not go to the staff working back in the kitchen. It just goes to the waiter, which is a whole other topic we could get into. I'm actually not a fan of tipping. My personal opinion is pay them enough and then you don't have to tip. But, that's me. I know some people that work in the restaurant business like it because they get big tips. But why don't pay them more? Okay. But anyway, I just thought that was an interesting article because it pointed out that, we've got this idea that people are just sitting home living off their unemployment, but the situation is a lot more complicated than that. And the pressures of the pandemic forced some people to make some choices and say, you know what? No, I'm not going to do this anymore. Just like the pressures of the pandemic caused some people to realize, oh my God, I hate living here. And then they move to somewhere more because they're telecommuting. And now the office is opening back up. Wait a second, I moved to Duluth, Minnesota instead of Denver, Colorado, where my office is. Oh shoot, what do I do now? So a lot of people have been awakened to, and that's, goes back to the lumber shortage I mentioned. A lot of people have been awakened to, hey, let's do these things. Let's make my life better. Jobs aren't everything. There's more to life than your job. Sounds like I'm coming up with another driving video in my mind. I'll have to tell you about some reading I was doing by I forget her name off the top of my head, but about a lady who's talking about the 40-hour work week for teachers, which is a dream for me right now. So, but anyway, we'll have to talk about that some other time. So anyway, I want to thank you for watching. And if videos like this interest you, where I talk about fountain pens both new and old and at all price points, I would invite you to subscribe. And the one that interests me the most out of tonight's topics is this growth versus fixed mindset. And I know we need to push that growth mindset, but I know it's so easy to fall back into the habits of that fixed mindset. So I'm curious to know where you're at with that. Or maybe some people just naturally are more gifted and that's where they should focus. But I'll tell you something. I'll tell you this another time. Good night. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.